back, everyone, to the LEC, where the Super Week is in full swing, as is the race for the playoffs. And ahead of Astralis versus Fnatic, which is an absolutely huge game for both of them, currently tied at 7 and 8. After XL's loss earlier, both teams are looking to grab sole possession of 6th place in the standings right now. You know, nothing is final. We have our wonderful tool here, as I'm joined by Georgia, to run us through a couple of scenarios, right, in terms of Astralis and Fnatic and how their weekend could be going.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool to also highlight actually Fnatic and Astralis, so we can keep a track through any scenario that will come out of that match that we're going to play.
Let's start by maybe an Astralis win and see how that would change everything for today. That would put their scenarios up to 62.7% of scenarios in which they qualify, but Fnatic would drop down to only 12.9%.
And if we look at the remaining teams that Fnatic is going to play, over here we have Vitality, and we also have Misfits, who have looked extremely strong.
Misfits completely out for blood also, it seems like. And Laure reminded me of something extremely interesting, which is that Fnatic killed Misfits' world's chances. Now Misfits would have a chance to kill their playoff and world chances. So let's go from the other side and think that Fnatic does win this game. That immediately then puts them in the top 6 for now and ups their scenarios by a lot, which is very logical. And then you have to go and guess, right? So what shall we do? Shall we do a 3-0 for Fnatic?
Let's do a 3-0. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it will lock Fnatic.
They would lock.
So once the text has gone blue, that means the team has locked playoffs.
Reminder, they have tons of championship points, so they would probably end higher than that.
For sure. But right here, you see that even through this result, Astralis still are sitting on 8.6 chances, scenarios rather, for having at least a tiebreaker in their playoffs.
Now, if we do the Astralis run, a 3-0 would actually straight up also qualify them into the playoffs. Very much fate in their own hands, but and Fnatic would fall out.
But also eliminate XL.
Yeah. As we can see, there's a lot up in the air. There's only this much we can kind of simulate, because we don't know what's going to happen, but at least we know what's going to happen. You should win, basically. Now, Fnatic, trouble. The team that has never missed the playoffs versus Astralis, the team that has actually never made the playoffs. Of course, in that origin period, they then did, but not the org when it was named Astralis. It's a very interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like for Fnatic, we have a few question marks, right? It's like Humanoid is dying a lot. Fnatic is not necessarily getting anything back from it. Best spot labeled in the West, Hylissang and Upset are losing the 2 versus 2. They don't seem synced up. A lot of people are like, play towards the tops of the map. You know, Razork, when he was in Misfits, he was used to playing towards the tops of the map, but when your strongest tool to win the game is a Gragas, is not necessarily one that will be consistent.
And love that you brought up the bot lane. It has always, in every iteration of Fnatic, been the thing that we talk about that was so strong. Now it is not working out, of course, because it's not working out in the entirety of the team. And this is so interesting. JeongHoon, who came in, right, from Korea in Astralis, has been doing so well, and he's taking over some of Hilly's tendencies in terms of the forward percentage, meaning how much he's pushing forward in that lane.
And usually we've been saying the difference between Hilly Hero and Hilly Inta is how much his team is willing to follow. Well, the thing with JeongHoon is that his team is always willing to follow. His roams, his engages, his early game has been stellar. I think especially the way he plays around with the Pyke, where he leaves lane very early on, and he's been an absolute nuisance, especially to the top lane. And it's not necessarily always about the kills. It's about keeping the mental pressure on opponents, having to track you throughout the entire game.
And mental pressure, it is on right now for Fnatic and Astralis. Such an important game in the race for playoffs. And we're going to head over to the cast with Vedi, Medi, and Guldborg.
Oh, it's like Infinity.
Oh,
that's us.
Yeah, that's us.
So if you weren't noticing, we were talking about the song.
Yeah, we were talking about...
and how Kadrol didn't realize that the Edge of Infinity line was actually a reference, spoiler, to Infinity Edge.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
I know.
You have blown my mind.
Lyrical genius, I know.
Truly
Did you also
level.
know that Ignite the Competition refers to igniting enemies using the summoner spell?
Not even ally?
I thought it was the Z World song. No, you're breathtaking.
You are breathtaking. You are breathtaking.
Oh, it was Ender?
It was Ender.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Take it back. I take it back.
All right, well, we've rambled on long enough. Get the camera off, Ender. You can get out now, because we have to talk about a very serious game between Fnatic and Astralis. There's a lot on the line here, which may seem ridiculous when I have this hairdo. But it is serious. It's a very serious matchup. Astralis and Fnatic, their playoff chances are ultimately in their own hands. Both Sjokz and Trouble highlighted that. They need to win is the TLDR. So let's see who will start that today as we get ready for draft.
wait, Betty. Okay, Guldborg. Astralis on the blue side. Why even play the game? They're 5-0. They have not lost a game on blue side this season.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
All of their losses have been on red side.
All of their losses have been on red side. Fnatic have lost on both sides.
So you're telling me they have a 100% win rate on blue side?
Well, Astralis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's what he literally just said.
5-0.
5-0. Yeah.
I'm Pedro now.
Good one.
Let's look at the draft. AD carries getting panned away. Kalista and Sivir removed alongside another champion from Shurima in the form of Azir. Wukong and Yuumi taken away from Fnatic. We'll see if they round it out.
Exactly.
On first pick.
This champion has to be banned. I feel like you're making the game so much easier for Astralis because every time their win condition will be, okay, weak side Vizicsacsi, let's put him on, let's win a random team fight. Great, guys, we did it.
There's
so
the
there
on
it
man.
is. Woo!
Okay, well, what are they going to go for this
JeongHoon.
time instead? A Trundle first pick. Okay, okay. That's pretty interesting because remember that Poppy is still up and available. But they're saying we don't care if you want to play Poppy. We're happy to play Trundle into pretty much anything. And yeah, I'm a little surprised that they want to just blind pick this, but Xerxe clearly has a lot of confidence in the pick, and Razork is saying, you know what, I'm happy to take this trade.
You can still kind of, you know, play around having that Poppy in the jungle as well by then going for less effective dashes as well. But pivotally, the most important one to have against Poppy was Sivir, been taken away. So what you would usually see is like, okay, great guys, we lock that Twitch, we play with an Enchanted down towards the bot lane, we play for a late game. Renata's up available as well, if that's what we're looking for. But Zeri can accomplish the same thing. She just have that dash, she can actually get interrupted.
Yep, and there is the Zeri locked in for Astralis. It is Razork's first Poppy game of summer, as far as I can see. Wunder's built out the Gwen a couple of times before. Kobbe has a retinue of different champions, so no real surprises that he decides to go for one of the stronger AD carries right now in the form of that Zeri. And there's the Kennen for Chachi in the top lane. We've heard rumblings of it, we've seen it a bit in LPL. Kennen is making his way back into the meta.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit of it here in the LEC, but it hasn't really grown in popularity. With the top lane changes, there was a lot of discussion around, well, could champions that get to leverage things like Airy and Scorch be more valuable in the top side of the map? And over in the LPL, they immediately picked up on that, and they really took advantage of this Kennen. We'll see how effective it can be against Wunder's Gwen, as Humanoid goes back to an old school favorite of his LeBlanc.
Yeah, so something where you want to take charge in lane here as well. Completely blind pick. You can take away some of the worst matchups. So it immediately, Dajor's Vex comes to mind, of course, getting taken off the back. Ahri can be annoying to play against as well, just due to the charm, obviously stopping dashes now, so making the W a little uncomfortable for Humanoid. And then on the side of Astralis, you can ban away the ADs, you can ban away the supports. What do you prioritize?
Astralis, well, they do have a lot of options here, but I think support bans could make a lot of sense for them. But instead, they're going to choose to limit Upset's pool. You know, it's kind of crazy. Upset's played so many different champions this split. He's not really committed to a single star. It's quite different compared to last split, where most AD carries were just the Felios or Jinx. Whereas this split, we've been seeing all sorts of things from both AD carries. We've been seeing Seraphine, we've been seeing Veigar from Kobbe, we've seen Tristana, we've seen Lucian, Kog'Maw, like the whole works. A lot of AD carries have been very viable so far in this match.
Yeah, taking away the Twitch, I feel like that's so pivotal. One of the few champions that Upset played as well. Having Hilly that plays the Cillian too just would make that champion absolutely unbearable trying to get to. And I feel like you want to keep that support counter pick for Hilly on R5, so you're definitely looking for an AD carry here for Upset.
Oh, interesting. So they're going to go for more of an aggressive bot lane approach with the Lucian. This is something that Upset is, of course, very familiar with. We'll see if Fnatic round things out with the Nami, but they have a lot of flexibility here. They can go for Rakan is still up and available. We've been seeing a lot of that today. They could go for Nautilus, still a very solid pairing. They could go for Braum. Lucian Braum is a very old school bot lane that gives you a lot of power if they want something a little bit more defensive. The main thing I think Fnatic is lacking is engage right now, without any reliable hard TC or tools to actually start off a fight.
I was thinking about that Nami down towards the bottom side. I prefer something with a little bit more CC for the Kennen when he tries to get into a fight. The Rakan or the Nautilus definitely fit into that. Renata also does a similar thing if he tries to get in there. There's the Karma, so push in the bottom side of the map for Astralis. Karma Zeri should always have prio, but it's not Karma on the bottom side of the map. It's Karma in the mid lane here, with Rakan being picked alongside this Zeri.
Okay, so that's very interesting. That's usually something where you just want to have the mid lane priority, push it in, it's stable into the LeBlanc, and then you can skirmish around with the Trundle as well. Having the extra movement speed on Xerxe where he's able to just chomp people down, absolutely incredible. But also towards the late game, the shielding a Karma provides is absolutely insane. Now, I still feel like Astralis comp is a little bit difficult to play due to the fact that JeongHoon's main engage will be stopped by the likes of a Poppy. He will probably be pushed in by the Lucian and Nami in the early game as well, and that means Astralis need to go back to the old reliable wait for the late game and see if we can find a team.
I feel though that when you have a hypermobile comp like Fnatic has, Astralis not only have really good range and kiting because of the Karma plus the Zeri, but Rakan is the best support you can have against highly mobile champs like LeBlanc and Lucian as well. And if they can find us, you don't even need the flank.
Proxy Fox.
Oh, yeah. Hi. You don't even need a... you don't need a flank as long as you've got either Rakan or Kennen. They can come from multiple different angles. So I'm quite optimistic about Astralis' both scaling and their team fighting. But Fnatic have so much agency in the early game. With a Lucian Nami, with a LeBlanc, you have so much power to do whatever you want in the early game.
And that right there is the biggest thing. The fact that you have to mitigate the pressure that's coming out from Fnatic. Fnatic, I both feel like they cannot drop the ball in the early game. They cannot fall behind the curve, because if they do, game might just become a little too difficult to touch. We're going right into game.
Okay, I'm gonna do the thing that I forgot to do last game. Runes! Upset running first strike. Kobbe going for the lethal tempo. There's the Summonary. Chachi actually going first strike in the top lane here.
Confidence. I like it. More money.
That also means he's not running Scorch or Summonary, which was part of the discussion as to whether Kennen would be more viable.
Yes. I think it's also partly because he's playing into the Gwen as well. But yeah, it's a valid point.
But of course, I feel like also with first strike in general, like it's not per se just a late game or early game rune. It's very reminiscent of a late game rune as well, just due to the fact that it does percentage scaling. The fact that it's not a flat air damage that's going to come through that's amplified just means that, well, when you get more towards the later game, yeah, you get the extra gold, but you also get a lot of more damage to play around with.
It's also a hilariously fun mini game.
Not for your opponent.
Humanoid just going to move up towards the top side, sweep that out. The question mark pings have come down from Astralis, because that is a little suspicious. They've brought Humanoid all the way up to the top side just to clear out that ward. That either suggests that Razork is looking for an early game play top lane, or they're trying to deny something from happening, or maybe they just want to funnel that XP into Humanoid to help him get that early level 2, right? Like, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but I mean, the thing that is really non-negotiable is Humanoid should be able to get that level advantage and already start pressuring in lane.
Yeah, and also just the fact that one of the weaknesses that Poppy does have as well is that if mid lane gets pushed in, Xerxe and Dajor starts looking for play, well, if they can keep the tracking up, that's going to be more difficult. So ideally for Dajor, if he's in a position where he could push in and drop a ward on Raptors, that would have been lovely. Not the case this time around, though.
You see Humanoid just dives in, lands the chains, chunks out Dajor. Dajor's running the Doran's Ring double potion here. No corrupting pot for him, so he'll have to start chugging through those potions to regain some of his health. Does get to the 2 now, and so now we'll have that inner flame. The Inspire, the shield, sorry. Inner flame's the Q.
Wards are OP. If that's not proof, I don't know what is. It's a good opportunity here for Chachi. He's just going to back off. Of course, cooldown still very long. Early levels, you can see in the bottom left of your screen. But so far across the map, nothing too crazy. Keeping an eye on what the junglers are up to. Razork did Raptors into red, into... Looks like he was able to do his Gromp as well. Now he's doing Wolves.
So I think what they might have been looking at there was the fact that, all right, bot lane stacking up a wave, you skip your camps, come down towards the bot side, see if there's anything that we can really look for, but might have called out the play, just knowing that Trundle might be pathing down towards that bottom side as well, wasn't just, you know, maybe not feeling it.
Chachi using his range advantage up here towards that top lane, getting the stun down as well. He went for the cull, knowing he doesn't really have kill threat on the Gwen, just wants to farm up, get as much gold in his back pocket as possible. And I think something we really have to hammer home in this game is the stakes, is how important this game is for both these teams. Both of them sitting at 7 and 8 right now. Fnatic on the cusp of missing their first ever playoffs. Astralis on the cusp of making their first ever playoffs. And with seeing XL lose earlier today, now Astralis and Fnatic in a very good position to claim that 6th spot for their own.
Number of scenarios have increased pretty significantly for both Fnatic and Astralis. This game matters so much for both teams. when it comes to being able to qualify playoffs. Xerxe has Razork in his eyes, is chasing him down, has the level advantage.
They're on his way as well. JeongHoon coming up. Hylissang's going to come in here as well. Razork looking for the damage, but the W healing on Dajor is perfect. Mantra W gets you the healing back, gave him about 100 HP, and that's what he escapes with. Perfectly done by Dajor on his first ever professional Karma game.
Might not be done yet. Humanoid still looking for JeongHoon.
Gonna get chunked out. Hylissang will take the kill. Hylissang does have flash, does have heal. Xerxe's gonna look for a little bit more damage. Dajor puts the shield down. Heal used by Hylissang. There's the flash as well.
And then we just have a great movement coming through from JeongHoon, making it a 3 versus 2 situation. Nice as well from Dajor with, of course, the Mantra W to come through, keeping him alive. Response comes through from Hylissang. Gets caught off. And now we might just get a third one coming through.
They're looking for the push here. Xerxe was trying to shadow him as they get that wave underneath the tower. It's quite a big wave, but Humanoid should be able to hold this one. Kobbe and Upset trading down towards the bottom side. Upset should have the advantage in this. He has got that exhaust as well, but Kobbe, of course, has the defensive summoner in the heal.
And quite a little bit of this early game here coming through, so it's all about the mid lane. I think that's great of a point of attack for Fnatic, but when you take a look at the lanes that Astralis can realistically speaking attack here in the early game, there ain't all too much. The bot lane quite often pushed in, hard for Xerxe to gank. Mid lane, well, Dajor, he's kind of neutralizing the lane into the LeBlanc, and while you do have that W, hard to lock down with the mobility that LeBlanc does have. Wunder on the top side would be the easiest to dive, but...
Razork.
Humanoid going forward, good
great
flash
flash.
with Dajor to get away from that. But once again, the wave not in the best of places for Dajor. You can see only 25 CS to the 38 from Humanoid. Humanoid in a very strong position in this 1v1 lane.
One of the conversations that's been happening a lot around Fnatic as a team is how much freedom is Razork actually being given as a player. Does he really get to do what he wants to, or is he kind of conceding to the larger voices that exist on the team? And I think that this game is a really great example of Razork pretty much doing what he wants and playing with the information that he has on the map. He is now invaded for the second time. The first invade cost him his life, but the second one, he's able to steal away the Gromp and then look for a gank into mid and burn Dajor's flash. And Fnatic finds himself in a really great position because after that whole skirmish, Dajor needed to fix that mid wave but couldn't, because of what was happening around mid lane and the fact that Razork was able to come back. Now, observers, if you could very quickly click on Humanoid for me, I'd love to see how close he is. Never mind, it doesn't matter anymore. I was going to say how close he is to level 6, because there's an opportunity here to stack that wave and look for a play, but Dajor very quickly clears it out.
Well, really quickly, Vedi, if you look at the purple bar next to the player's portrait, it actually shows you how close they are in terms of XP.
That's true.
Humanoid looking for the damage here onto Dajor, does chunk him out. Humanoid takes a bit of damage in response, has that refillable though, so he's going to heal up a tiny bit.
But also just in terms of itemization coming out on the Rift again. Astralis barely any pink wards in inventory, where from Fnatic, they laid inventories towards the mid lane, they laid inventories towards here.
Razork's going to get the stun down here, puts down the steadfast presence as well, and already JeongHoon is down before he can even dodge out of the fight. Hylissang's going to fall though, support for support so far. Importantly, Upset got the kill on one side, Xerxe on the other.
Just great awareness from both junglers there. Huge credit to Xerxe and Razork. For Xerxe, it was about covering the wave. He could see how stacked this wave was, and he knew that his bot lane was at risk of a gank. Razork, of course, recognizing that they were at a risk of a gank, looks for that gank opportunity. So both junglers just really good. They feel very focused this game. They know exactly where to be and how to handle it. And you can look at this, the shadowing from Xerxe. Perfect Razork with the setup play. Perfect the follow-up from Hylissang to land that bubble, guarantees that kill. But of course, it does mean that without Hilly's flash, he ends up losing his life.
And once again, comes up great vision control. No way for Astralis realistically to get vision down there. The bot lane was in a position where, well, we can really get in there and get the vision immediately. JeongHoon tried, he got Hex Flash on. And from the mid lane point of view, well, Dajor was pushed in. Couldn't have that extra river ward. Razork,
Humanoid's coming across from the side here, does still have the
Xerxe's
flash.
losing
Xerxe
this.
losing by a long shot. Razork gets the knockback. Xerxe has nowhere to go, no flash on him either. Good smite though into the slicing mouse from Astralis then close in. Needle working out from Wunder, he's going to get the shutdown, and that is huge. Sjokz gets another stun onto Razork, and the long range in a flame is enough. Dajor now chasing onto Humanoid, but Humanoid still has a flash. The renewal coming out will mean that Dajor wins out that fight, 1-for-1 so far.
and a 1-for-1 as she said. Razork coming up clutch, finding the pickup onto Xerxe afterwards, but Dajor, heat-seeking Mantra Q comes through to solidify that trade, and a 1-for-1. Here comes the rest of it. Humanoid might be forced off this wave. Stays around though.
I like that Chachi is threatening this. They want to try and get themselves a plate. They have to be careful not to overstay, but wow, a lot of little skirmishing happening all across the board, and huge respect needs to be given to Astralis. Many did not expect them to be a playoffs contender coming into this split, but here they are at the end of the season, going toe-to-toe with Fnatic here in the early game.
And a lot of that has actually come off Xerxe, funnily enough, get caught here in this situation. But he's been such a great jungler to play around with. Great to see that player like Dajor as well is stepping up, though, and especially Sjokz as well, coming down from the top lane, down towards the mid lane. Because he's been on the position where it's like, you need to be weak side, you need to be the guy setting up the on horns. But now in the Kennen here, finding the right roams to set up at least one kill here for Dajor as an exchange.
I love the confidence here from Dajor because he recognizes, wait, I have Mantra Q. I'm actually going to walk back into the enemy to make sure I can land it so I can at least get a trade of jungle kills. And huge props to Dajor as well. The shielding onto Xerxe to keep him alive long enough to then smite the Scuttle Crab to then keep him alive. Just a lot of small things happening in that fight to allow Astralis to actually go even in what should have been a Fnatic-favored play.
And even with Wunder being able to get that shutdown onto Xerxe, he's actually still behind in terms of gold against Sjokz. Xerxe will be topping, well, near topping this as Upset continues to farm down towards that bottom lane, the kill as well, helping him out. Xerxe, Sjokz, and Dajor in very strong positions in terms of gold against their opponents.
And what's also very interesting about this game is that it's been so skirmish heavy that we haven't really even seen a Drake get taken yet. Fnatic had bot prior, they have mid prior, they could have easily started up so far, but so much about it have been finding Xerxe, finding plays you can go for in lanes, and getting leads for some of these laners.
I love this mid-jungle synergy that we're seeing from Fnatic. Humanoid and Razork working flawlessly together, leveraging Humanoid's LeBlanc to set up all these invades. Razork has the CS advantage because of all the camps that he's actually just taking away from Xerxe. He has the level 7, he'll walk away with the red buff, but Xerxe are very focused on enabling his laners. He shadowed bot lane there at the risk of a potential dive. Now we see another fight top lane.
Slicing Mouse from going out, Wunder trying to survive this needlework going wide. Sjokz able to dodge away from it with the lightning rush. Final needles do connect, and Wunder will heal up a little bit off that. So he's already got that lost chapter in his inventory.
It's not going to amount to much, and quite bold of Wunder going for the play here, not knowing, well, they obviously know more Xerxe was spot, but when you take Drake here for Fnatic, could have been a point of attack. That's not going to be the case. So Fnatic, they pick up the Drake for themselves, they play even on the top side, and they just get that neutral objective.
Yeah, really strong start for Fnatic here. Xerxe trying to answer, though. Humanoid does still have the flash. Not sure if he's got the ultimate for the second W. He does, and he's able to dodge away from that one. And although Xerxe had a very strong start to this game, the last few plays he's tried to make being a little bit ineffectual here for Astralis.
But even on the bot side as well, you can see Razork, he's still staying proactive, kind of just hovering around, making sure the laners of Astralis with Kobbe and JeongHoon can't step up, giving extra plating to Upset, making sure they lose more. I like the pressure we're seeing.
I will say that it might not seem obvious, but Humanoid is playing this lane incredibly well.
Yeah.
And the reason why you know this is because every time you look at mids, you look at that wave, and you can see that it's really awkward for Dajor. And this is kind of what we were talking about in the draft, where we talk about Fnatic have so much agency with their laners, and now they're looking to leverage it again.
Razork going in. A bit of damage. TP available for Sjokz. No slicing maelstrom for him. Dajor already on his way down towards this bottom lane after trying to get that push in the mid. But Upset continues just to harass and chip away at this tower. Already 3 plays down on it. Razork steps over. Kobbe looking for a bit of damage. There's the charm onto 2, but they're just not tanking the tower, and JeongHoon went way too deep. The rest of his team nowhere to be seen.
You could see the idea behind the play, which was to catch Razork underneath the tower, charm him up, get the auto off. Maybe they can use the tower to turn it around, but the ultimate from Hylissang was flawless there as it CC'd him long enough to allow Upset to get the kill.
And just in general, that play looks so stressed. You got the W in first, you could have gone for the ult, you could have W'd afterwards instead. You just try to do way too much at the same time, and you get way too over-aggressive, get caught off guard by the CC by Fnatic afterwards. So Fnatic, stay relentless and victorious in a lot of these small skirmishes we're getting.
Xerxe is looking to make something more happen down towards this bottom side. Kobbe does have the flash. Xerxe on the chase. TP coming in. It's Humanoid to join this. Exhaust going down. There's the heal as well. Upset. Able to get away from this one. Xerxe dodges away from the Aqua Prism. JeongHoon going in. He'll be rooted. And will be the heal burnt there for Hylissang and the exhaust away from Upset. But no loss of life for Fnatic.
So they get the teleport. Mid lane wave gets pushed in, and Razork's forced to charge that up. But now we resets coming through from Upset. Try and get some plating for Kobbe, but Kobbe needs to step up here just to be in range for it, and Humanoid, he's trying to stop that.
JeongHoon low. Kobbe will be able to get an auto down, so he gets 160 gold out of that. Double chain's going to land onto Xerxe. Humanoid level 10 already on this LeBlanc. Razork coming in from the side as well, but he's just going to stop in his tracks to clear out this control ward.
Fnatic is not looking to fight. You can tell because you can see Upset in the mid lane looking to push that wave out. Astralis recognize that they're just wasting their time continuing to try and push this wave in, so instead they're going to look to disengage, go back to base, spend some of their gold. But Fnatic slowly starting to build a greater and greater gold gap. their bot lane and mid lane really coming out on top.
Yeah, but it actually matters quite a bit
100%.
because now you're delaying the resets. Okay, there you have to teleport down towards the mid lane. Who's picking up the bot lane that Humanoid is pushing in? Right, nobody, because Kobbe is now going off a reset. So Fnatic, they win out in some of these small skirmishes. They take away jungle camps. They stop the CS from being taken. There's just quite a bit of pressure coming through. And although they only have 1 kill advantage, you can already see it on the gold lead from the plating, from some of these instances we're addressing right now. This is why Fnatic get this small gold lead.
You can see upset 1,000 gold ahead in that 1v1 matchup, but Zeri very much behind the clock. And for Fnatic, winning this game sets himself up so well for the rest of the weekend, because the rest of the weekend is not easy. Like, they have Vitality and Misfits to play. And obviously Vitality did lose earlier today, but have been looking pretty good. Misfits won and are locked into playoffs. If Fnatic can win this, their percent of scenarios in which they go through goes up from 35% to 63%. If they lose, it goes down to 67%, sorry. If they lose, it goes down to about 7.5%. So.
Yeah, it's a really important game, and we keep stressing it because remember that Fnatic has never missed playoffs. And bear in mind, they've been competing since what, like 2013 or something ridiculous like that? Look, there are 19 seasons, excluding this one.
Very important.
Very important. Of the 19 seasons that there have been, they have been in 19 playoffs. That's a lot.
And they only missed 7 finals of those as well.
And you think about all the different rosters that they've had, right? There have been some that are considered worse than others.
I'm just saying, the Gamsu Spirit roster
right?
made it into
Yeah,
playoffs.
the Gamsu Spirit
This roster doesn't, and that roster did. There's a reckoning to be had as the Slicing Maelstrom comes down in the top lane, but Wunder able to dash away.
Oh, he flashed for that, though.
Yep.
He was fully committed to setting up that play. Of course, the Ghost is used in response. Xerxe and JeongHoon now show themselves, which should secure this tower for Astralis on the top side of the map. But again, to go back to that point, Fnatic, it's weird to not see them in playoffs, and there's a reason for it, right? And what's even crazier is of the 19 playoffs they've been in, 12 of them they were in the finals.
And 7 of them they won. Only beaten by G2. Kobbe flashes over the wall. Razork continues to be on a tear this game, finding man after man, being a nuisance, a thorn in the side of Astralis.
You can just see how split the map have become. You take a look at the top side of the map. Okay, all the blue wards coming down. We're playing towards the turret. We're getting the Rift Herald for self. What's down towards the bottom side of the map? No, thank you, observers. Razork taking their own neutral objective for themselves, and Humanoid on the tier 2 turret. So the entire map of Summoner's Rift have just been split apart. Someone give me an 80s reference for that.
They did a lot of splits in the 80s, I think. Was it like aerobicize or whatever it was?
Chachi can sidestep that one. Good dance moves on him. Xerxe now making his way up.
And Astralis trying to find a way to get control of this game once again. Currently 2,500 gold in the hole once again.
Oh,
Razork looking for Dajor. Dajor doesn't have to burn the flash yet. Humanoid can look for the jump forward. There's a knock up with the Keeper's Verdict. Dajor will flash underneath the tower. Razork's locked up for a second.
Wait a minute.
Zeri on his way. Kobbe not going to look for it.
And it's very important that, yes, okay, we've all seen what AP Karma can do when she throws that magic in your face. But this is also a Karma with Moonstone Renewer.
Yeah.
This is about the extended team fights. This is about that mid to late game we so often talk about Astralis and setting themselves up, well, for the more extended skirmishes. So when Dajor gets caught isolated, he's not going to get all the value that we're talking about usually when we're seeing this item in a team fight.
So no dragons up for a while. Baron, of course, is still off the table. Both teams mainly contesting around these outer towers. Fnatic do have the slight edge for the time being. That's mainly because they secured 2 in the bot side of the map. And so we kind of look towards the top side of the map now for Fnatic in terms of easy towers to take. And the same in the cross map for Astralis. So I wouldn't be surprised to see their vision slowly start to shift in those directions. You can already see Humanoid has gone to catch the top wave and is slowly going to start pushing that out. And with the vision investment that we already have from Fnatic slowly creeping its way in towards the river, Fnatic is going to slowly start to move this vision further and further up, and they're leaving Upset and Hylissang mid to maintain that neutral wave. And the second that they need that push, they'll bring Razork over, they'll likely bring Wunder over as well, and then they can start moving towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, and it's just so difficult to stop from Astralis as well because, well, they don't have anyone that can actually deal with that pressure that Humanoid is applying a side lane. You can send the Karma every time, but you need someone to shadow her. And then we come into this split map situation again where, well, when they see multiple members of Astralis on top, members are just going to move into mid, they're going to move into bot, they're going to pick up objective for themselves, and that is the pressure that Astralis is under. Every time they make a move, well, Fnatic, they got the back end of that.
And this is what we talked about in draft, right?
Sorry, I have an 80s reference.
Yeah,
pressure, pushing down on me, pushing down on you.
No man whose fault.
That is how Astralis feel right now. They can feel pressure all across the map, and it is largely because Fnatic, they have those 3 strong solo laners, the ability to separate Astralis, not give them that window to team fight, and they're playing it well. Every time Astralis tried to attack one of the sides, Fnatic then looked to attack elsewhere, and while their whole game plan was to attack top, the second that Astralis tried to shut that down, what do? They attack mid. Upsets the benefactor of that mid tower. You can see he's now nearly 2,000 gold up on his lane counterpart, and he's really where the bulk of the gold lead sits for Fnatic.
And this is where it's a little annoying that Fnatic didn't pick up those early drakes for themselves, but could they be in a position where they suddenly, were so close to the soul, they could put even more pressure on Astralis. But Astralis, they get time to play for. They don't need to get these objectives over themselves. They'd probably be happy if they could get them. But what they really are waiting for here is just a point where there may be 2 to 3 items on their carries, find one target with JeongHoon on the flank, blow them up immediately, and see if you can turn the tides that we so often have seen Astralis do before.
Xerxe going forward, looking for Razork. Steadfast
nice.
presence stops any engage possibility there from JeongHoon. As Razork has been on the trigger with that ability this game. Of course, the ring around Poppy, that W ability, E ability? W ability stops any dashes. So if you're in it, you can't dash out, and if you try to get in it, you get stopped on the edge of it, which is why Poppy's so good into things like Rakan.
Super annoying when you're trying to play any champion that's fun.
As a Rakan main,
Yes.
yes, her, Veigar, Cassio, remove them from the game.
Cassio's fine. The
No, because she
Poppy-
puts down Miasma, and you're like, oh,
Don't
I'm just
stand in front of her. Just
Don't-
come. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Yes, he looked at me very scary. Betty, hold me.
Hey, you're on your own, mate. He's a big guy.
Grifter's going to charge in here in the mid lane. Doesn't take down the whole tower. Upset will be here to clean it up. Hits it in the eye. You need an ophthalmologist to look at that one as Humanoid continues in a side lane. In the past, at some point, I'd be saying Humanoid dies because he's in a side lane, but this game he has been playing the map well, respecting when Astralis can be nearby, and actually looks like Fnatic might be giving up this 3rd dragon of the game to, or at least vision around it for now, and accepting that Humanoid can get a tier 2 in that top lane.
I mean, they still have to teleport on Humanoid as well.
That's true.
And I think they understand that somebody has to answer this. There's multiple waves being pushed in, and it's just too much gold losing.
Yeah.
So Chachi, Dale, some of them have to respond to it. They have to teleport themselves. When that happens, great. Resets are coming through. As soon as Fnatic sees somebody no longer around that dragon area, well, they can start moving in, clearing the vision for themselves.
Are they going to see anyone go up towards that top lane, though? It looks like Astralis just giving it up. Dajor, of course, very cheap build with the Moonstone Manure. If you go towards like Redemption second, you go out to Sensor second, it's support items, so they are a little bit less costly for you than usual AP items. But Fnatic will gain control of the river just by pushing forward here. Humanoid hit with a pillar, but he doesn't really care as he can just dash all the way back to his initial jump, and Fnatic will gain control over the river and be able to secure their 3rd dragon of the game.
Solid dragon control from Fnatic throughout. They've leveraged their strong bot side of the map, and they've played well around it.
Yeah.
Wunder done a good job of just stabilizing the top side. He hasn't really had many resources, but he hasn't needed them. Fnatic now contesting this mid wave. They don't want to give this tower up for free.
Humanoid's going to land the change onto Xerxe. Good double
that's
knock
big.
back! And left alone is Kobbe. He dashes over the wall. The slice master going in for Chachi as well. Upset solo, but he cleanses out. Charm in from JeongHoon, gets a double knock up. Upset push back. Kobbe trying to put the damage down, but he can't get it in. Humanoid dashes forward once again. A single sigil is enough to spell JeongHoon's death.
And how did only one person die in that exchange? Blinking health bars all over the place. Astralis is still in a position to try and take down the turret, but Fnatic might not let them with Humanoid lurking around.
Double dash onto Kobbe is a possibility. Of course, Kobbe does still have his flash. Xerxe there, chains dodged to the side, and Xerxe will be able to walk away. Mid lane tower does go down, but Fnatic continue to extend their lead. 4,000 gold ahead now with 3 dragons to boot.
Let's have a look at this engage. Really good ultimate here from Razork. Then he gets, I believe it was the Flash E, right? Yeah, Flash E into the wall, stuns up the AD carry. Upset then lines up the ultimate. But then this engage from Chachi, if it weren't for, I believe this exhaust, yeah, the cleanse into the exhaust just barely keeps Upset alive. He's forced to use all of his summoner spells, the heal coming through from Hylissang as well. JeongHoon, he feels like he has to drop the stopwatch there. I didn't quite catch if a tower shot was aiming for him, but regardless, Humanoid comes over the wall, lands the Q, secures the kill, and Fnatic find themselves another.
And that fight could just be a foretale of what's to come as well, with the amount of damage that Vizicsacsi was able to deploy on Upset once again. There's so much pressure on his shoulders in this game. If you feel like it's been, like Astralis haven't really been in a position to go up, contest, walk in, and try get rid of Fnatic from the pressure they have around the neutral objectives, well, it's because they don't have any reliable engage to just walk forward. It has to come from Chachi from the side, JeongHoon from the other side as well, kind of just piling in on them, making sure that they can find these engages. So for JeongHoon and Vizicsacsi, they're going to be making or breaking this game for Astralis.
Well, they now completed 2 major items, means that more damage will start to come through for him, but of course, it's not that damage is lacking for Astralis, it's a question of can they land the damage. With so much mobility on the side of Fnatic, as you were saying, you really need this crowd control to land, and that's why it's so important for JeongHoon and Vizicsacsi to land those skills. Upset does have his exhaust on cooldown for the time being.
Does have that QSS though. Xerxe looking for something, doesn't quite get the pillar in place as Wunder pushes in the side lane now. Humanoid has TP as well, so he's working his way down towards this bottom side. Tower will fall though, Chachi gets the bounty. And Astralis back within 3,500 gold as Wunder's able to take a tower on the other side of the map.
A lot of the map belongs to Fnatic right now. You can see how much control Fnatic really do have. So we could just toggle the vision and just see what Astralis sees right now. You can see how dark it actually is. They've got a couple wards down towards the bot side and they have this wave pushing in, but a lot has been taken away from them and it makes it even harder when you lose things like this tower.
They also don't have any Farsight automations right now. Like, are you checking Baron? Are you going? You don't have vision on it. At this point, you have to start to step forward a little bit as a team. You can see JeongHoon investing his oracles here to clear out their own jungle, which means you can't invest it to clear out a deeper portion of the Fnatic jungle. They get a ward in the river here. Fnatic didn't want to go for the Baron. Instead, they look for the mid prio, and the damage from Upset's absolutely absurd. Kobbe able to dash away. Immortal Shieldbow procced.
That just got way too close as well, and yeah, they're able to retain some vision in their own jungle as well, but that was only because Fnatic, well, they're on reset timers. Yep. What happens when they get back? Well, they'll push in that long top side, they push in mid lane again, and all of a sudden, you don't own that jungle anymore. And those far side alterations you were talking about, Medic, they're going to become key as well. Because if they are all on cooldown, when Fnatic finally gets control about this area, all of it again, they're going to be in big trouble.
Humanoid is looking deadly on this LeBlanc, leveraging the Fog of War.
Holy
QR, and that goes your health bar. It's a tried and true Fnatic. Well, it is a Fnatic combo, but it's a tried and true LeBlanc combo that she becomes a poke champion in the late game. Yeah. She sits in these pockets of darkness and she'll just keep chipping away at you.
That's kind of how that champion evolved. So back with DFG, it was all about just one-shotting them. But now that the game has become so much more, there's more durability, more extended team fights, just finding that poke, getting out, that's exactly what you're looking for. And now, Sjokz does have that flash in 2 seconds. And you can see Astralis, they are posturing up aggressively. Dajor could speed him up. He's got the Hectech photo belt. They're just waiting for an overextension, but Fnatic, they're not biting either.
And Chachi just grouped with the entire team here. Like, you want him on a flank. You want him in a position where he can get in from the side. Hylissang Tidal Wave out. Ultra Shock Laser is going to hit as well. Humanoid continues to put a little bit of damage down. Of course, the Moonstone Renewal will be helping Astralis survive through some of this poke, but the poke a little bit larger. The stick that Humanoid is using to prod at Astralis a little bit bigger than the healing from that Moonstone. Fnatic looking for their 4th dragon of the game. An Ocean Soul, a possibility. Humanoid on the flank, double knockback. Humanoid going in. Dragon spawned. Fnatic should be able to get this before Xerxe is able to get there in time. Flash available for him, 5,000 HP on it. There's a Blast Cone as well, could use it to get in. Do you flash Smite Q? Do you look for it? Fnatic aren't giving you the opportunity to go. Chachi, slicing Maelstrom goes in. Humanoid secures the dragon. The slicing Maelstrom shoots though, and Humanoid is gonna fall. And now it's all on the rest of Astralis to try and clean up this fight. They get 2. Exhaust on Wunder. He's gonna dash across the wall. Astralis, do you turn straight towards the Baron? You don't get the dragon, but you do win the fight.
Astralis hesitate ever so slightly, but the engage is good. Upset doesn't even get a chance to use any of his summoner spells. He didn't pop the QSS, he doesn't pop the flash, he just dies. This gives Astralis the window to win out on the fight. They're going to convert this into a Baron, and Astralis are definitely not down and out yet.
Yeah, but this feels very scary. I'm not too sure what the death timer is for Humanoid, but I'm not sure if he can blow this up immediately. 14 seconds, he does have teleport. I don't know if this is what you want to look for.
Just saying, Razork's been having a stormer of a game so far. JeongHoon locked up, JeongHoon down. Razork trying to get him from the side. Baron now stopped by Astralis. TP coming in by Humanoid. They're looking for a bit more.
It's just Astralis getting desperate. They feel them get so close to finally get an advantage in this game, but they overstep their boundaries. I feel like we've seen this so many times today.
Hang on. Does Astralis even know? Are they even going to contest this? It looks like they're not. They're just going to give this one up. And when I thought Astralis was not down and out, Fnatic, they're going to get themselves the soul. They're going to get themselves a kill, and they'll convert it into a Baron.
See here, the replay. Again, Chachi finding a great team fight, but first, Xerxe way too far from the objective. They blow it up immediately.
32.
And then afterwards, yeah, you have that Ocean Soul, but sustained damage against getting blown up by CC. Not really going to help Upset in that instance. And you feel like, could they just get one more afterwards? That would have been the Baron for Astralis, but since they couldn't, I don't really think they should have gone for it, especially with Humanoid having that teleport. They got way too confident.
Really smart play, though, from Sjokz. He saw all of the dashes were committed from Humanoid, and even though he flashed away, it wasn't outside of the range of Vizicacsi's ult, so he's able to lock him down and then upset. He just he eased in aggressively, and then he gets knocked up and dies. So, yeah, he was just like, well, whoops, happens.
It does, but Fnatic's still in a very strong position here. 5,000 gold on the lead, the Soul.
There's 4 of them bot.
Yeah, all of Astralis were looking to try and catch someone because they knew they couldn't contest for this tier 2, but there's no one there. For them to catch, so they'll recall now and get back and try and defend their inhibitor towers.
Is that instance where they know it's so difficult? With Sjokz not having a flash, realistically speaking, they can't really fight. They can try, but it's probably not going to pan out as well if he did. So they're just looking for the play. Usually you play on 2 lanes. Well, Fnatic played up towards the top side because, of course, they had that turret as well. So more difficult for them. They lose out on the gamble. And Fnatic, they continue their siege.
Fnatic looking good right now. This is their game to lose. Playoffs chances are very much alive with a win here. Upset, going to use his dash to get to safety. Waiting for Humanoid to push in this wave, and now the siege will continue. Fnatic, they have an inhibitor in their eyes. Another tower will fall. Vizicsacsi is forced back, doesn't have the flash, which means that Fnatic continues to push.
Wunder can just walk straight through them here. Already got that Shadow Flame in the Everfrost. He's so strong alongside Upset and Humanoid. Double inhibitors go down. Astralis cannot find a way into the fight, even with the Shirelli as JeongHoon not able to get in range.
Hold up, they managed to keep one alive, unless Humanoid.
Humanoid exists, man. Like,
there you go. 2 distortions forward, and they're just out of there. And it's so easy as well. They played on 2 lanes now. Still have the Baron, of course, the Soul Everlasting. Play towards the bottom lane now, and Astralis, they're just forced to play Turtle in their own base. Defense, 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 until you finally find that play you can go for.
And what is that play?
Well.
Do it word by word, guys. Vedi, you say the first.
Late
Game.
team
Fight.
I think team fight's actually one word.
Damn it, Medic.
Yeah, so
You
it
and
was
your-
good, though.
You and you're technically correct.
You missed
Where's counter correct?
Did you know the vegetables aren't real?
That's not the fact.
Right, so back to the game. You can see Humanoid looking to push in mid as the rest of Fnatic now gain control of the bot side of the map. Of course, there are the super minions starting to stack in the top lane, and Fnatic are creating 3 waves of pressure. It should be done and dusted at this point. The question is, can Astralis find a miracle fight as they have done so many times before this split?
Fnatic, they need to look for these flanks. They need to find out where Vizicsacsi is before they get too overconfident. He has all the things he needs now to get in on the back line, but Fnatic, they've ratted them out and they're just continuing the siege. Baron, no longer part of the play, but Razork might look to bounce some people away.
There's a little bit of a helicopter as he chucks Sjokz back to the fountain. Usually you have to pay for a trip like that, but Sjokz TP available behind them. Okay, Fnatic, what are you going to do? Tied away. Sjokz tries to get away. Gets onto the back line. He absolutely shreds through Hylissang, but he will pay for that with his life. Wunder distracting the rest of Astralis, and the super minions now pushing in. Astralis hail the retreat. They know they can't fight this any longer. The super minions are on the Nexus towers, and Wunder wants to join them there in a second. Alongside his trusty supers, he takes the first Nexus tower. Astralis now triple supers in their base, have to find a way to defend with the 3rd inhibitor. JeongHoon with a good dodge away from Humanoid as he dashed forward for the kill. 3rd inhibitor should fall if Fnatic want it. Razork diving in, and there's just nothing you can do if you're Kobbe. He falls once again. Astralis fall once again, and Fnatic cling to the hope that they will make their 20th playoffs in a row. Razork on the Nexus, Humanoid trying to do the same. The minions should do it for them. Humanoid pulls the stopwatch, dashes forward. 2 autos would be enough, and the minions do it. Fnatic with a huge win on day 1.
A much needed win for Fnatic. This game was the most important for both of these teams. It was the opportunity to create space between you and your direct competition. And with XL's loss in the previous matchup, Fnatic now find themselves with sole possession of that 6th place spot, which is massive moving forward.
Yeah, and also just a great statement game for Razork. I feel like he had so much pressure in this map as well. We've seen it on Champions before, like the Viego, where he wanted that pressure where it's pulled forward. This time around, he was the facilitator. He was the one fighting the kills, but he was aggressive with it. He was finding them in the inmid jungle. It was having Humanoid in his back pocket, not vice versa, and looking for these plays. And Fnatic, they got the early game going for them. They got the map opened up, and they played it out beautifully.
And I will say that Humanoid as a player, historically, he's always come up clutch when it mattered. You think back to Mad Lions, during those finals, during those playoffs matchups, that was really when he was starting to shine. And now with Fnatic's backs against the wall, he alongside Razork really did stand out this game. That LeBlanc was a great performance. And it's something that Fnatic need to maintain throughout the next 2 days. Of course, their road to playoffs has not been locked yet. If they go 0-2, things could still look shaky for them. But we'll have to wait and see. Right now, it's in their own hands.
I will say, I've seen the key of player of the game votes. This is rigged. The people you can vote for are Wunder, Razork, and Hylissang. There's a certain mid laner who is missing off this list.
Dajor, you did amazing on that.
Obviously, Wunder, Razork, and Hylissang all played well, but I think Humanoid has to be given at least an honorable mention. He was just such a nuisance. He was always in the faces of Astralis. He continued to get that poke. He got to a position, you said as well, Vedi, the laning phase. He was playing the waves really well. Got the level 2 first from the ward kill, then was able to harass. That's just really well played by Humanoid.
Yeah, the mid jungle was fantastic, and I would still like, with Razork being there, I would definitely give it to Razork alongside him, right? Because the mid jungle is, I really think, the standout, and the amount of invading, like, if you're ever interested in like how to be super aggressive and how to leverage your mid prio, this is a really great example from Razork. He was a little over aggressive at times, but he did a really good job of working with it was great. Good job.
I agree.
Nice. I'm so glad you give me so much to work off when you actually say I agree there. But yeah,
just burst into song when you don't know. I mean,
that's your job.
Any other ADC jams? I forgot all of them from earlier.
Yeah, so did I. I remember them when people say them.
Yeah. But I'm trying to remember.
Do you want me to look up top 80s
Is Night
hits?
Fever 80s by any chance?
Night Fever. I mean, that's from Greece, though, isn't it? Oh, no, wait. Was it before?
Is it?
No, it's not from Greece. What am I saying?
Dude, we're 90s
it's not
kids.
From Greece. Yeah. Night Fever by the Bee Gees came out at some point. 77. So before, yeah.
70s, man.
Was Thunderstruck 80s? With AC/DC?
Okay.
We could have used that with the Kennen.
This is like the worst television.
Oh my God.
Just me Googling songs. Thunderstruck was 1990.
Oh, we almost had it.
What are the top 80s hits?
Drop her at Twitter for the best songs.
This is Phil content while we wait.
Take On Me. Really good. Don't Stop Believing.
Me. Now we're going to toss to the interview.
Love.
Take it away,
I Love
Laure.
Rock and Roll.
Take it away,
Wake
Laure.
Me Up Before You Go.
Bye-bye.
Girls just want to have fun.
Thank you, guys. And Wunder, thank you so much for joining me after this game. Congrats on picking up this one. It was really needed. But before we take on the stakes, I want to ask about this Gwen build, because from the Snip Snip lady, I've never seen this before. Shadow Flame, Rabadon, of course. Everfrost? Can you enlighten me on this, please?
Well, the Everfrost is mostly because of, well, it's like not a... I don't hit the Kennen very much, so the Riftmaker is not usually that good value. For like extended fights, basically, if I Everfrost him when he uses his E, I have a pretty good window to kill him, so it's a little bit more risky for him to play that matchup. So that's basically why I build Everfrost. And Shadow Flame, I mean, they changed Gwen numbers a lot, so now you see more people buy Magic Pen, where before, like, true damage was way too strong, so you didn't actually need any Magic Pen in the first place. But now you can like kind of do whatever with the build, and yeah, I mean, it made sense this game, even though like I didn't really like pressure Kennen a lot since I was like mostly blind and they were like running towards top. But in theory, it makes sense.
But it does. And actually, that's super interesting, because when you think about both teams, your comps and Astralis' comp, you really didn't have hard engage. We talked about Razork having like huge responsibility here when it comes to pinning people down walls. But tell me about walking through this game and finding these opportunities to fight when you know you have the fear of having a Kennen flag on one side, and how did you manage this?
Yeah, I think the biggest threat about the comp was for sure the Kennen, especially since we're playing well at support like Nami, who doesn't really stop Kennen very well. I mean, she has her ult, right, but she also gets really one-shot if Kennen connects. And I believe we didn't play a single exhaust as well, so if he gets a good ult, especially with the build he played, he can like potentially one-shot our entire team. But yeah, I mean, they were like in decent positions in some fights, and I think we also kind of lost a Drake fight, but we got the Drake, or like we got the soul, so it was for sure really close. But I think the later the game goes, it's harder for Kennen to do something, because he will also just take so much damage from LeBlanc and Lucian ults and just pokes before he can even get in, so he needs to play it really well for it to work against our comp, I feel.
I see. I will always have flashbacks of Korean teams and Kennen flanks, so yeah. The exhaust, you knew you could do it, that's good on you, but moving forward, Fnatic is still in a difficult situation this week, and especially when you think about this match against Astralis that you won. It was crucial in the head-to-head, but when you think of Fnatic expectations around the roster, the rest of the week that you have, Vitality, Misfits, and how the team has been going lately, how is the mindset right now?
Well, the mindset is, well, of course we are all stressed and we all want to win every game. The mindset is that we should be able to win every game, but we also know that it's BO1 and a lot of things can happen, right? So, well, I can't speak on behalf of everyone on my team, but basically just take it game by game and prepare as best as possible. Since it's a BO1, and we play 3 games this weekend, we kind of need to prepare for every team, and we can't take any team lightly. Our schedule right now as well is all the teams around us in the standings, so it would be stupid to take any team lightly anyways. But yeah, I mean, just tomorrow I believe we're playing Vitality, so we're going to prepare for them, and then yeah, I mean, we need to stay ahead of Excel, I believe, unless some of the teams above in the standings are going to drop potentially 3 games this weekend. So we just need to keep calm and play our best every game.
You got the confidence. That's what I hear, and that's what I want to hear from Fnatic. Well, Wunder, thank you so much for the interview. Good luck on the rest of Super Week. And we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes for the last game of the day. Mad Lions G2 coming up next.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
And some Kit Kat for you, and some Kit Kat for Elder, and some no Kit Kat for Barrett.